Okay.
Okay. המצווה העין זין, המצווה 7 היא שציוונו שיקריב כל ממצורע קרבן כשישרפי מכל יום, והוא שורש בהמוס אוילו וחטוס ואושם ולא יקשמן. ואמרנו ההיעוני שיקריב כבש לאושם ושתי סורים ושני בני יוינו אחד לאוילו ואחד לחטוס. וזה הוא הרביעי ממחוץ לכפורה. והוא אמר יסעלה ביום השמיני ייקח שני כבשים תמימים בכבשה אחת. Okay, בסדר. Now, let's go. כל מצורע. So the question is, what does he want? Kol Metsera. So it could be that he just wants to include all different types of tzaras. And then it's a reference to Sherish V, the Rav Sadi Goin counts all the different ones as different mitzvahs. Nesek, Nego, Shchin, Michvah. And the Rambam wants to say it's all one mitzvah, and he's referring back to Sherish V. Or maybe he wants to say that a mitzvah and a mitzvah are one mitzvah, referring back to what he developed in Mitzvah Ayin Hey when he discusses the Gemara Krisus, that that mitzvah and mitzvahs are basically one tumah. Even though that there are differences in dinim between a mitzvah and mitzvahs. Rambam in Hilchos Tumas Saras Perek Yud Halacha Ches HaMitzvos einoi peiraas v'einoi peiremes v'loi oite sofon v'loi oite asofon. However, in the Ika Tumasam, they're the same. And the Rambam's mashma that the important thing is the Ika Tumasam and the Tumah is the exact same. Kishe nisrape mecholyoy. Shisrape mecholyoy. Saras is a disease, just as Zav and Zava. He doesn't say it by Yoledis. Yoledis is not a disease. You understand? It's but the mechayiv is the choli. However, the mitzvah doesn't bring his carbon mechusik kaporim after he's better, but it requires zayin yomim, tziporim, tiglachas, utfila b'harav shemesh. Now, the Rambam here lists Korban Oni and Korban Oshi and Korban Oni, V'imoy Oni, Shiakriv Keves L'Osham, Ushtei Serim, Ushnei B'nei Yoino, echod lioilo v'echod lechatos. Ram counts Oshir and Oni as one mitzvah, and that's what he's stressing. And this is according to his general approach that he counts Korban Oil V'Yored as one mitzvah, even though there's three different approaches. There's Ashirus and Dalus and Dali Dalus. And this, the Rama points out in the Shir Shvi, because there's three permutations, three ways to for different types of financial situations to do the same mitzvah. Similarly, the Rama counts, as we pointed out, that in Yoledis, he counts it as one mitzvah, even though there's a Yoledis Ashira and Aniyah, and as different korbanos. Rav Sadi Goin disagrees. Rav Sadi Goin counts Mמצורע, Oshir, and Dalus Geshtei mitzvahs. Rav Sadi Goin in the Sefer HaMitzvos, he writes in Perek Zayin, page 64, Hasiris hischashe b'mi shehoya min hamenugoyim dal v'ein b'efsharusai lohovi shloisha roshim, means korbanos. Shloish roshim means three types of three behemoths. Sheyovi reish echod v'imo shnei b'nei yoino or shnei teirim. V'hishir sha'achir kmo shehem amu im dalhu v'ein yodam maseges gatzei v'piska. And the Rav Sadi Goin, as we mentioned, is also in terms of Yoledis. He counts Yoledis Ashira and Yoledis Aniyah as shtei mitzvahs, which we mentioned. And this is Rav Sadi Goin's opinion in general, that Rav Sadi Goin holds that various permutations of mitzvahs you count as multiple mitzvahs, and therefore he counts Mמצורע, Oni and Oshir as two mitzvahs, and Yoledis Ashira v'Aniyah as two mitzvahs. And the assumption is, which I can't really prove because it's missing in the that part is missing in the Sefer HaMitzvos of Sadi Goin. The assumption is that you count Korban Oil V'Yored, Ashirus and Dali Dalus as three separate mitzvahs. They should have been in the if you look in his Sefer HaMitzvos, on you'll see it on. He discusses this, and it's discussed there in Ha'or 244. Okay. Excuse me. Sorry. On the and on the it's on page 244. Sorry. Okay, that's simple. Now it gets interesting. So Bekitze is, he talks about a choili of Mמצורע, and the refuah from that choili is machayiv korban. Now, the Rambam sets up someone asking him a question, and he answers it. V'im yoimar Oimer, someone will suggest or ask the following question: Lama le simne korban mechusrei kapora kulam mitzvah achas. Why have I, speaking of Rambam, why is it counted mמצורע, the zav, zova, yoledis, and mמצורע as 4 mitzvahs? It really should be 1 mitzvah. Acha sheyesh lahem inyan echad koilo. There's a broad overview of an overriding principle. Koil is the lashon of Ibn Ayov, and I think it's a little bit better than Yikapsam, that I think you can understand it better. Kapach says HaKoilam, which is basically the same thing as Ibn Ayov. So the Rambam basically says that since he is of the opinion that minyan ha-mitzvos is a minyan of Inyonei HaTorah, so since there's a common denominator, a common thread, and they're one inyan, so count them all as 1 mitzvah. Acha sheyesh lohem inyan echad koilo. Now, the Rambam is working the impression that the mitzvahs, the korbanos of mechusei kapara, are 1 inyan, which is l'tayer es hatomei, in order to be able to eat kochim. According to this, mitzvah say ayin daled through mitzvah say ayin zayin should be 1 mitzvah, and the mitzvah l'tayer es hatmeim ho'elu with mechusei kapara through havos korbanos. Sheyesh lahem inyan echad koilel v'hu chisul kapara. Okay. V'yeh min korbanos min atuma v'hoya roy shetoimar HaMitzvah haplonis hi shetzivonu shelo tishalim talis ksas tameim, that the completion of Tahara lo tishalim, because the chisa kapora is the completion of Tahara. Veheim zav v'zova v'yoledis u'mitzorah ad she'akrivu korban. This is a mitzvah of the korban mechusei kapora, which is metayeh. The same way the Ram says it's not a new idea. It's not a new idea at all. But the idea is similar to the idea of tahara in general. K'mo shetimne tahara b'mikvah mitzvah achas shenischai bo eze tomei she'iyeh. Even the Torah might have mentioned it in many different places, many different tmeim. Ve'ein chachoshesh lemin hatuma shenitma bo. And we're not interested in itma bo. We're not interested in the type of tumah. Kain hoyoroi lecho shetimne korban mechuse kapora mitzvah achas. V'lei sachosh lemin tumasai. They shouldn't be interested in the tumah b'chal. So the Rambam answers, get back slowly. Hashem Yodea, just in general, this is Ibn Tibbin, Hashem Yodea, Ibn Ayyov, V'zeh B'chayai, and Kappa Chine Zeh Be'emes. The point of all this, is that even though the word is alala, whatever it is, he means it's it's a spilus. Shezeh hoyeroi b'li safek. Correct. The person who asked this is correct. However, shezeh hoyeroi b'li safek im hoye korban kol echad me'elu arbo mechuse kapora korban echad. If every single one of the mechuse kapora had one korban, the same korban, v'lo yishtane kimo tahara b'mikvah mayim. Every tamei has to go to a mikvah. It's the same mikvah for everyone. Even though it depends about tumah, he's looking for sheretz and a mace, doesn't make a difference. Shuhu min me'atayros shechoiva al kol tamei. Ulam mitzad his chalfus korbanon kamo she'atoroyeh. But since the Torah chose to change the different people bring different korbanos, his chayiv limnos kol korban beyichud behechach. Each mitzvah should be listed separately because of the different korbanos. Ki adova sheboi tishalim tares hoechod zulas adova sheboi tishalim tares acher. It's different. V'zeh kamo mei nida umei mikvah v'yarbo minim shemitzera. The same way that these different tires, because the different situations are different mitzvahs, similarly here also. Shein sholosh mitzvahs, af al pi shekul metaris tameim, kamo shevayer, and I say kuf yud, ve'elu abo mechusei kapora. Okay, so that's his answer. Okay. Okay. So the Rambam makes a statement, and the answer is that each type of korban is a separate mataya. And there doesn't exist this concept of mataya echod of korbanos mechusei kapara. El korban azav is a mataya b'fnei atzmoi, the korban mמצורע is a mataya b'fnei atzmoi v'chulei. Since the korbanos are sheinos, korban zav v'zovo is shnei oifos, chatos v'oilo these oifos of achatas v'oila, one is achatas and one is an oila. Korban yoledes chatas v'oila, ashiris is oif, ubehema, and dalus is shnei oifos. Korban mמצורע, chatas oila v'osham shel behema, if it's ashirus, and if it's dalus, it's a korban osham, which is a behema, and the chatas oila v'oifos. And since the korbanos are different, they have to be counted as different mitzvahs. And you can't count it as one mitzvah like Taira b'mikvah. To give you an example of how Rishonim have a similar concept and how this plays itself out, there's Hashmotas v'chidushim mishita merubetzes in Krisus. Daf Ches Amud Aleph Os Chaf Aleph, that he writes similar to the Rambam over here. I'll explain to you what I mean. That a korban echad, you can imagine a korban echad of could be metayeh mitumas yoledes and tumas zava. We're referring, Mistama, he's referring to a korban yoledes of a aniyah who brings a chatos in the oil of oifos, which is the same korban as zava. So if she's a zava and a yoledes, so maybe she has a taiga through one korban. That is what the Shitl Betzis asks. And that is working with the concept which the Ram has developed, that the korbanos are the matayim, and since the type of korban that these two tumas have to bring, so maybe one korban should matayah both of them. The Shita Mubet says there gives two separate reasons why it doesn't work, but it's not a intrinsic reason. It's you can look there and see. But this is the concept of the Rambam, that the chefsa of if it's the same korban is the same matayah. Now, you see, you get the impression from here that the whole mitzvah, the whole mechayiv, is the Tahara. And that's a problem. Because, for example, the Mishnah increases, a Chesed Aleph, that someone who had who was a Zava 5 times, she has to bring 5 korbanos. Even though she becomes Tahor for the first korban that she brings. So it means it's clear that beyond Tahara, there's a chiyuv lahavi korbanos v'chusei kapara. So l'chera, the mitzvah of avos korbanos mמצורע is independent of tahara, of v'chusei kapara. Next, second question. The Rambam in Hilchos Mechusei Kapara, Perek Aleph Halacha Hey, calls man she'ikrivu chatoson asul nechol b'kodshim. Avo ha'oila v'ha'osham einon ma'akrin. So if oila v'ha'osham einon ma'akrin, after you bring the chatos, you're tall. She's tall. He's tall. So the oila and the osham don't come with tire. But the separate mitzvahs korbanos. And then we have the problem that Zav and Zava, who have the exact same korbanos, they should be, which is a cane, a chatas and oila of oifos, they should be counted as one mitzvah. Also, you can ask that according to the Rambam, once you change the korbanos, to different Tahara, so why do you count Mמצורע, Shiur, and Mמצורע only as 2 mitzvahs? And Yoledes, Ashira, and Ani as 2 mitzvahs? Since the korbanos are different. So, suggestion is the following. The questions are clear. In all Tmeim in general, there's no let's say that the mitzvah doesn't express itself as an obligation to a mitayah. All of the Tmeim can sit in the tumah their whole lives. True, they won't have a het of achilas truma or kodshim or knisa lemikdash, and that the Rambam writes in Mitzvah Saseh Kuf Tes that Tmeim in general don't have to go to the mikvah. The Rambam here, by Korbanos Mechusei Kapora, is of the opinion that they are obligations, that the mitzvah requires you to bring them. And they're different than other Tameim. So because there's a mitzvah of Torah different than other Tameim, which is an obligation, they're obligated to bring an oila and also an osham for Metsera. Even though I thought these korbanos are not ma'akiv in the Torah, but they're ma'akiv in the mitzvah litayah. It's an amazing thing. They may be tahor already, but they're not makayim the mitzvah of tahara. Similarly, the obligation of bringing 5 korbanos by Leda, even though one korban is metayher, but there's a mitzvah. The one korban is ma'akiv in there is Tara, but the makayim the mitzvah. The mitzvah is not suspended with the Taris Hagavra. He has to makayim the mitzvah with avos of every korban, the chamesh haledos. Even though the Gav already is tall, the same way that he was that the chatos is ma'akiv in Tara, but once it becomes a chatos, the mitzvah is not complete without bringing the ola and the osham for the metsera. Now, let's go further. The Rambam in Hilchos Mechusei Kapora in Perek Aleph Halacha Hey, the Rambam writes, Hayoledes eino mevia korbono b'yoyim arboim lezocho or b'yoyim shmona lekeva elo me'areves shimsho umevia korbono lemocho שהוא יום אחד והבוים לזוכו, ויום אחד ושמונה לקבע. והוא היום שנאמר בוי, ובמלויס ימי טהרה, ומביא קורבנה בתוך מלויס לא יוצס. Okay. Because l'chayra, she can't have tahara, because she's not finished the melois of Yoledis. The problem is The Ram goes further. Ve'afilu hevia al haleidos harishonim, which is after the malais. B'teich yemei malais shovlad zeh lo yatzis. If korbanos letumos, the old tumos are only a chiyuv of avos korban, there's no reason at all that you can't bring them in the malais of a tahara of a yoledis. Of her own type. She had 5 ladies, so she can bring now those korbanos, even though hasn't finished the 5th. And that's our sogas of the Ravid. The Ravid writes, Om Avram, Zetem Agodo, Im Shalcha, Korbaniseo, Teich Molois, Lomo lo yotzes, Umay shno, Mechates Chele v'dom, Shatome mishalech oiso umakriven lo. Tome mishalech korban oiso. So what's the problem here? My Rebbe was masbir, the Shum increases, that the chiyuv havos kol korbanos have to be at a time when the Oledis is loyal to Tyrus HaKorbanos. Or she's completely tall. Because the Machayiv of the Korbanos is the Tyrus Oledis. So once you accept that, since she's Eino Roy for Tara, even though Tomei Mishalech Korban Oisov, she's the Chmufke. But if, as the Ravid suggests, the obligation of the other Korbanos or everything else is Stes and Rambam, it's a separate Chiv Avor, doesn't make any sense. Furthermore, now we understand even more so. So this is a question now. You see, if we understand, we'll see. The Rambam, we mentioned this Rambam last time, I think. Perek Aleph of Hilchos Mechusei Kapora, Halacha Yud Gimel, that a Isha she'evia chatosa umeisa, yovia yoshim oilasa, af al pi shelo yifrisha oisa mechayim. If the woman brought the chatos, the oila you could bring after she passes away. Why? Kvar ishtabdu nichseho bekorban vashibud din teira. This is a problem. If we paskind in halacha hey, that a woman can't bring korbanos if she's Tmeya, she's in the malaise of Tumah, because she's ain't a royal Tahara. So I would have assumed that it's a Kal V'chomer if she's dead. So l'cheira, you have to say that the oila is a separate chiyuv and nothing to do with tahara. So you're back to where you started. And then you can say shibuda deraisa. Now, yeah. So since, according to Shiur Shvi, Ram is again Shiur Shvi l'chayra, because mine korbanos ain't a mechalkim mitzvahs l'shtei mitzvahs. If the matara of the korbanos is the same, chatos and oil v'yored, all the korbanos of korban oil v'yored, Osher, dollars, are one mitzvah, even though the korbanos are different, because they have matorah achas, one purpose, one reason. And since the matorah of all these korbanos are taras, mechus kapora, lachilas kochim, so they should all be one mitzvah, l'maisa, not four mitzvahs. So you have to say that Shiur Shvi is talking about where the korbanos are nikrav for the same purpose. And that makes them one mitzvah of Akovas korbanos. But here, the korbanos are nikrav for derech tahara. And as an approach, a type of tahara, since the different types of taharas, so all the different mitzvahs. So again, the korban seeing korban v'yored, it's a chovis hakrova from kaporas chet, and the kapora is the same for all of them. So even the different korbanos doesn't make a difference. Here, the etzem chiyuv is a chiyuv tahara. So since the matayir is different, there should be different mitzvahs. That's the it suggests here. The Rambam then, in which is the real oddity, is the Rambam in Asay Ayin Hey is of the opinion that the various types of different tumors of Mechusei Kapora, they are machalik the korbanos to different mitzvahs. And therefore, Zav and Zava are shtei mitzvahs because the tumor of Zav is Leuven and the tumor of Zava is Oidim. So Yoledes, it's a kavachoyma that Mמצורע and Yoledes should be separate mitzvahs because their tumor and their carbon are also different. But the Rambam over here is presenting a whole different case. And it looks like that he has stepped back from what he says in Mitzvah Ayin Hey. And the mitzvahs are derech tafla, like mikvah, shemetai. So there's no nafkamina what the etzem mechayiv is and what the tumah is. But if the Torah is different, it should be different mitzvahs. So since the korban zav and zav zovo ashovim, see if you approach that the mechayiv is a different mechayiv, it's a different type of tumor, and the korban is a function of the tumor, then there's no question over here. You know, you don't know where you're standing. Because if the mechayiv is the ikar tumason, so since it's cholok, they're all four cholok and ikar tumason. So maybe it's four mitzvahs. If the mechayiv is not the tumor, the mechayiv is the ta'ara, and it's one metayr, they should all be the same. Next. Just a point. So I'm not sure about it. I just want to just point it out to you. Simcha, it pointed out to me, the Ramban, that that Zav and Zav of the Lashon Chumash is there's no obligation for the Zava to be Moina Shiva Nikiyim. So if that's the case, so what's going on over here? So I was just wondering that maybe that's what the Rambam means. You see, there's another problem with the Rambam over here, that the Rambam says the Mechayiv is the Refuah. And it's really not true, because you have to, after the Refuah, you need Nikim or design Nikim and Tefillah and whatever. Or you might need also Tiglachas by Mמצורע. So I was wondering, maybe the Ram is saying that the Mechayiv is the Refuah. So, and that the Zion Nikim are only a Tanai, that he can't bring the Mechayiv of the Korbanos is the Refuah. But he can't bring the Korbanos until he has Zion Nikim v'chulei v'chulei. So maybe he would need these, since there's a Mechayiv already at the point of the Refuah, maybe Taka might disagree with the Ramban. And he would obligate them to do the Zion Nikim. Not B'teres that there's a mitzvah l'tayah. The mikvah is no problem. Or the Mayim Chaim is no problem. But the Mechayiv is the Refuah. And that existed even before the Zion Nikim. Now, this idea of the mitzvah, the Taharam, and that's the Etzem mitzvah, you find that in the Bahag, in the mitzvahs Kumbasei, Kuf Ayin Hey Tmeim L'Tayer, or Bihazois, Utfilo V'Korban, Koroi. So it means Korban is a Matayer. We don't know 100%. Okay. Next, okay? That's okay. That's the Lashon, the Ram Chriva Kol Tomei. There's an obligation. But in Kuftes, he's very clear. V'ein hakavona by tefillah. Be'omrenu shatefillah mitzvah say she'yeh chayiv kol tomei she'yitaya al kol ponim. V'ulam anirtze bezeh din tefillah ve'yois hatero imeres lonu ki mi she'yirtze litaya mituma hine lo tishalim lo ze elo betfila b'mayim v'oz yitaya. So when the Ram says over here, Kmo Tais V'loi yishtane k'moi Tairis b'mikvo, Taira b'mikvo, shehu min me'ataros shechoy v'akol tomei. It means a choy v'akol tomei, someone who wants to be metayir. That's what's happening. The Rambam, when he writes over here, okay. וזה כמו ימי נידו ומי מקוו וארבע מינים שבמצורע לכן he's talking about azos מים חיים על המצורע. Seder. The Ram ends Ubishmini. He says, "Vayisbayu mishpateim u'mishpatei korbanos bichlal befrat berishon v'sheni mikrisus u'b'sheni me'erchin u'zvachim u'b'shmini minizirus v'seif negoyim u'meseches kinim u'mekoyim rabim u'fuzorim min ha'talmud avo rubam v'ikrim b'mekoyim sheromaznu aleim." Sheranu, it means, well, Mazmu, this is an important word. The Rams doesn't mean remes, it means that there's a real source to it, and that's what the Arabic word really points to. Okay, Mitzvah Shem will pick up, we'll go back to the mitzvah of Vidui next time. Batzlach. Yes, marvelous man. Yes, I can. What can I do for marvelous man? You want me to come? I want to come down and go down that fire. There.